Thankful. What? All right. Facebook Live has been giving me issues this morning. Periscope was giving me issues a few minutes ago. But thank God they're both working right now. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome to Daring Dialogues. I'm your host, Shantae Charles. Hopefully you are having a great and wonderful day. And if you would, do me a favor and take a moment to share the broadcast out to your sphere of influence, as I'm going to do now. Today is Healthy, Wealthy, Wise, for those of you who are with us for the first time, where we talk all things health, all things wealth, including entrepreneurship, which is what we're talking about today, and all things wisdom. So let me see if my broadcast here is showing up. And I'm going to take a moment to share and get down to business. So, how's everybody doing on this great, grand, wonderful morning? I hope you're doing well. Let me make sure I'm not being any way inappropriate with with God's people. How about that? The weather is hot. Yeah, it's hot here too. I'm feeling it right now. And for some reason, I'm feeling hot right now. I'm gonna have to fix that when I get off of here. So, healthy, wealthy, wise. We want to continue talking about food, our health choices. We're going to be looking at the Entrepreneurs Playbook after that. And I'm going to read a couple more of the What I Know For Sure segments out of Miss Winfrey's book. Very, very good stuff. I'm almost done. I've got about 10 pages left, but she is giving some very good life lessons. So let's get down to food. We're going to talk about two. We are moving into, this is still vegetable section, but we're moving into what people mostly use for seasonings. And today we're going to be looking at garlic and onions. Those two very pungent things that many of us like to use, and we like to eat on our food, and we like to cook with, right? So let's talk about the benefits and the history of garlic and onions. If you grew up in some households, garlic was used for all kinds of things. If you grew up in a household where your family might have been a little bit on the superstitious side, I know garlic was sometimes used in a superstitious way. So let's take a look, first of all, at garlic, the pungent bulb. Garlic, the pungent bulb. And I'll show you the images here before I get started. All right. Garlic, the pungent bulb. I am reading from, again, The Story of Food. So if you're a foodie, if you like to study food, holistic health, if you are a chef, a cook, you know someone who enjoys cooking and understanding what they're putting into their body, this book is actually a great gift. So, garlic, the pungent bulb. Spice, food, and medicine compressed into one bulb, garlic has long been prized by the poor, but frequently shunned by richer people because of its pungent aroma, which was associated with the peasantry. I think Lady Barbara mentioned something about people putting garlic above their door, right? I don't remember why they did it. Somebody probably could tell me. But yes, I do remember that. People putting garlic above their doors in my neighborhood. In its wild form, garlic originally grew across a swath of Central Asia from Western China to northeastern Iran. It was cultivated in ancient Egypt and fed to the slaves, building the pyramids, to boost their health and stamina. So, slave food. Remember, I think it was leeks and cucumbers, right? That the children of Israel were always talking about. But they fed them garlic to boost their health and stamina. Garlic was eaten by Olympic athletes in ancient Greece to enhance their performance. And it was also popular with Greek and Roman soldiers. Archaeological evidence of its use includes a recipe written on a Babylonian tablet dating from around 1750 BCE for a meat pie flavored with pounded garlic. An even older Asian cooking method from Korea suggests roasting garlic slowly for up to a month until it blackens and caramelizes to produce a sweet, mellow taste. Ungodly smell. Garlic's pungency offended some, however, especially the upper classes. Aristocratic Romans abhorred its smell and may only have used it medicinally. The Roman poet Horace called it the essence of vulgarity, claiming it would drive one's lover to the other side of the bed. It was banned from many religious buildings, and the Quran urges worshippers not to attend the mosque if they have recently consumed garlic. In 1818, the English poet Percy Bysshe Shelley wrote home from Naples declaring, "What do you think? Young women of rank eat, you will never guess what, garlic." In Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula, Van Helsing uses garlic to repel the vampire, and this fact has since entered Western folklore and been used in countless novels and films. Don Quixote, there's a quote in the book that says, "Do not eat garlic. Their smell will reveal that you are a peasant." However, in smart 19th century French households, dishes with a base of sautéed garlic, such as coq au vin, were becoming a fixture. The beef bourguignon became high cuisine when Auguste Escoffier published his recipe for it in 1903. Later, the food writer Julia Child brought garlic-infused Mediterranean dishes to a new audience in North America. In the 1990s, with greater promotion of its health benefits, the so-called stinking rose became highly fashionable. Chefs served up whole roasted garlic bulbs, garlic-themed restaurants sprang up, and recipes for cooking the long-stem scapes appeared. In a few decades, the consumption of garlic worldwide tripled, banishing forever its tainted image as only food for the poor. So the origin of garlic is from Central Asia. Major producers today is China and India. Main food component is 33% carbohydrate. There has been, of course, non-food uses, medicinal uses, which is to lower blood pressure and to lower your cholesterol, which is why some nutritionists encourage people to take garlic. All right. Onions, a vegetable to make you cry. Some onions you can actually rinse, and it'll stop you from crying when you're cutting them up. Some I have found that even if you rinse them, they still wind up making you cry. So just a little tip on that. And here is some images of a man peeling. I think that's a man. Let me read the caption. All right. A slice of bread in your mouth. I've never heard of that one, Lady Barbara. Putting a slice of bread in your mouth while you're cutting onions? Onions, a vegetable to make you cry. Distinctive for their pungent flavor and capacity to produce tears, onions, edible bulbs of the allium group, have been cultivated for at least 5,000 years, becoming an essential component of soups, stews, and curries worldwide. Yes, I like to use yellow onions and I like to use green peppers in my curry. Among the ingredients listed in the world's oldest cookbooks, Babylonian cuneiform tablets form around 1750 BC. Onions were probably first grown also in Central Asia. In ancient Egypt, they were an everyday food and were also used medicinally and ritually. A papyrus dated to 1500 BCE prescribes them for scurvy and as a source of vitamin C. They were probably effective. Onions were widely used in funeral rites and set in and around mummified bodies to help the diseased in the journey beyond. In their spherical and concentric form, it was said to represent eternal life. This idea possibly persisted. The name onion is thought to stem from the Latin word unus, meaning one, referring to the unity of onion layers. From everyday food to fashionable fare, the first century Roman author Pliny the Elder wrote of Egyptians swearing oaths by onions and garlic as if they were deities. He also described different varieties of onions and their medicinal and culinary uses in Pompeii. Many of the recipes in Apicius, the 4th, 5th century Roman cookbook, use onions as both a base and a main ingredient. They include a forerunner of onion soup. The Romans introduced cultivated onions throughout the northern parts of their empire in the early century CE. By the Middle Ages, onions were a dietary staple of the peasant class throughout Europe. In later centuries, conquerors and settlers took them to the Americas, where wild species were already growing. The city named Chicago is said to derive from the French pronunciation of an American Indian word, Chickawa, meaning smelly onion, and thought to refer to plants of the onion family growing nearby. So I don't think you want to go around calling your Chicagoans smelly onions, though. That might not turn out so good. Onions were always easy to transport. They kept well and could be dried and preserved. Pickled onions became a popular treat in Britain in the 1700s. In France, one particular dish elevated the onion to elegant fare. In his Dictionary of Cuisine, the novelist Alexander Dumas recounts how the Duke of Lorraine and former King of Poland, Stanislaw, I'm not even going to try his last name, so we're going to call him Stan, stopped at an inn en route to Versailles, where they were served onion soup. Stanislaw was so taken with the soup that he asked for the recipe, and the dish was later named in his honor. Onions are now grown worldwide and are used in a wide variety of regional cuisines. They have become an essential base for a vast range of dishes, often those that involve slow cooking in a sauce, and are indispensable in many soups and sauces. In the Indian subcontinent, where onions have been a staple food for millennia, they are a key ingredient of curries. Team, make that curry. So that is onions. It's very interesting that both of these vegetables, onions and garlics, were first associated with the poor until other people started realizing the health benefits of them, and then they moved into the quote-unquote upper class. Onions, as we know, vary in size, color, and flavor, from the large and mild-tasting varieties to those that are small and strong-tasting. The skin color of an onion can be brown or purple. An American serviceman at Camp Kearney, California, photographed in 1918, which was the picture that we saw, so it was a serviceman. He tries to avoid the tear-producing effects of onion fumes by wearing a gas mask as he peels the onions. Origin: Central Asia. Major producers of onions are China, US, and India. And it has about 9% carbohydrates. It is a good source of vitamin C. So orange juice isn't the only way you can get your vitamin C in. Add some more onions to your diet. All right, the Entrepreneurs Playbook. More than 100 proven strategies, tips, and techniques to build a successful business. We have been talking about having an advisory board, and I believe we ended that talk. Yes. So we are on principle 10 now, researching the market as a business person, a business owner, someone who is desiring to get into business. One of the things you definitely need to do is to research the market, narrow your options, and then act. So that's where we are beginning this conversation. We're not going to finish it, but we are going to begin it. Henry Ford once said, if you ask people who have a horse and a buggy what they want, they will probably say a faster horse. It is a good point. People are not always good at envisioning the kind of new products they need. It is up to you to create alternatives for them. The questions are always the same, whether you're someone barely out of your teens, starting your first venture into business, or you are a serial entrepreneur, meaning that you have tried more than one business idea. So you want to ask yourself two questions for those of you who are taking notes and you are aspiring to be a business owner. Question number one, how do you know you truly have a good idea? Well, that's a part of what I do. My company helps people to figure out whether or not they actually have an idea that can work. And question number two, how do you know that the idea is absolutely the best one to pursue? Surprisingly, the path you take to find out the answers is the same in either case. Invariably, if you're inside or used to be part of a big company, your first inclination is to study the problem to death and make sure you have the best possible idea. You'll survey the marketplace. Many times you have to read analyst reports, visit with hundreds of potential customers. Only then do you come up with prototypes or mock-ups that you subject to endless market research and focus groups. But by the time you're done with that, someone else may have taken advantage of the customer need that you have already spotted, or the market has moved on. The best way to do research, as we talked about before, is to go into the marketplace and ask someone to buy what you have. I want to expand on that. So the key is, will they buy what you're offering? If you ask if they like the product or service you're thinking of offering, they'll probably say yes, if for no other reason than to be polite. They know you've worked hard to come up with this idea and they may not want to hurt your feelings. That's why you want to know if they're actually willing to pay for your potential offering. What we have come to learn in business is that most people will happily take something for free, but not everyone is willing to actually pay for a good or service. If, as the cliche goes, they're willing to part with their money or put their money where their mouth is, you're probably on to something. The moral here, it's wonderful that people say nice things about your product, but don't take their kind words too seriously until they pull out their checkbook. Hello, small business owners. The other thing is, research can become a crutch. When I see someone being overly dependent on doing research before going ahead with trying to sell a product or service, I think to myself, this person is not a calculated risk taker. He or she can't figure out if what they have is worth pursuing, and they're too timid to take the idea to the market. You cannot go anywhere if your boat is tied to the dock. You cannot go anywhere if your boat is tied to the dock. So you might as well give it a go. So what is the research you should do? We don't want to get stuck in research mode. And so we're never following through beyond research. We're never actually taking the product out there and asking people to buy it. But we also don't want to get stuck in, I didn't do any research. I just jumped out there. And then you get disappointed or you get disillusioned. So, does this mean you do absolutely no research? No, you only do the minimum that is necessary. That being said, as we alluded to earlier, one area you don't want to skimp on is what your competition is doing. For one thing, odds are that they've probably invested in a lot of expensive and comprehensive research. The bigger the firm, the more research they've probably done. And then you can also piggyback on their work. For another, your next opportunity could come from just improving on what someone else has already introduced to the market. It's remarkable the number of additional opportunities you'll be able to think of once you see the new product or service they have unveiled. For example, Airbnb. When Airbnb first came out, right, they were kind of ahead of the curve and ahead of the market. But now there are other companies, right, who have come out that have narrowed down their focus. They've taken the model of Airbnb and they've improved upon Airbnb. For one, some of these companies have better ways of checking out who is actually their buyers, right? The people who are setting up the space for use. Some of them are geared toward a certain demographic. Because of all of the racial incidences that have been happening with Airbnb, some companies are like, hey, we're gonna cater our services to the African American community because we realize that lots of discrimination is taking place through Airbnb. So again, it does not necessarily have to be something completely new. You can be improving on something that's already been introduced to the market. It's remarkable the opportunities you will begin to think of once you see a new product or service unveiled. You can improve on what they have and prosper. It really makes sense to see what the competition is doing in order to determine if you can improve on it. Generating ideas. There are some people who believe that when it comes to researching the market, you want to be remarkably focused from the beginning. You should try to come up with one big idea almost immediately and then refine it. Correcting flaws, adding and eliminating features. They will tell you this is the most efficient approach, the one that allows you to move faster. I disagree. You want to get as many ideas as you can and have those ideas, if possible, come from many different sources. If you surround yourself with people who are just like you, your age, your background, and your experience only, you will, not surprisingly, get similar ideas. Get people in different age groups, different backgrounds, and different experiences in the room. Explain your challenge and let the ideas begin to fly. Some of us would call this a think tank. Ideas don't need to be targeted towards solving a specific problem. You can hold idea generating sessions, and there are countless books and people who can help you do that, where the goal is just to come up with as many ideas as possible. Let me stress this. You need to take the process seriously. If people suggest good ideas and those ideas are actually feasible, you should give them a try. The worst thing you can do is what a major corporation did. They sent their middle and senior managers on a corporate retreat for a couple of days. The idea was to generate new ideas, working as a team. They came up with dozens of them. They then narrowed the list down to a handful they thought would have the most impact on the company. They went back to work and presented their best. Unfortunately, top management told them they will never work. Not one of their ideas was even tried. Do you want to guess whether those people volunteered any ideas again? Yeah. I'm on the side of, if I know I gave you a good idea and you didn't use it, I won't be volunteering again. The next time you will be paying me. Things change. The fascinating thing about researching the market the way we are talking about it is that while the approach you take doesn't change, you do, and the market does as well. New players are entering the field all the time. Market conditions do shift, and your competitors do new things. But the biggest thing that probably changes is you. You get older, you get more experience, you get exposed to more, and so you have a more refined frame of reference. The more you look at something, the more knowledgeable you become. That's why if you are relatively new in business, drawing on advisors can be a very good thing. They will have the experience you lack. So we're going to stop there. Next week, we're going to come back and we're going to answer the question, how do you begin to narrow down your options? What is a slow horse and a bad idea? And then we're going to go over 4 takeaways from that principle. All right. Our last read for today is coming out of Oprah Winfrey's book, What I Know for Sure. This is the section entitled Possibility. Possibility. And again, for those of you who are interested in the book, this is what it looks like. And these are little vignettes of life lessons. One of my defining moments, Oprah writes, came in the 3rd grade. The day a book report I turned in earned my teacher's praise, and she made my classmates grudgingly whisper, "She thinks she's so smart." For too many years after that, my biggest fear was that others would see me as arrogant. In some ways, even my weight was my apology to the world. My way of saying, "See, I really don't think I'm better than you." The last thing I wanted was for my actions to make me appear full of myself. Beginning when we are girls, most of us are taught to deflect praise. We apologize for our accomplishments. We try to level the field with our family and friends by downplaying our brilliance. We settle for the passenger seat when we long to drive. That's why so many of us have been willing to hide our light as adults. Let me just sip my orange juice right there because I'm going to pretend like she's not talking to some of y'all. Instead of being filled with all the passion and purpose that enable us to offer our best to the world, we empty ourselves in an effort to silence our critics. Oh, did she say? I'm going to read that one more time. Instead of being filled with all the passion and purpose that enable us to offer our best to the world, we empty ourselves in an effort to silence our critics. Listen, I'm not interested in silencing nobody. You have a right to your opinion, and I have a right to my purpose. So, criticize away. I'm going to keep doing what I believe God has told me to do. And I'm going to encourage you to get on your purpose and mind your purpose. Not mind your business, but mind your purpose. The truth is that the naysayers in your life can never, let me repeat that, never be fully satisfied. Anybody has encountered any naysayers in their life that no matter what it is you're doing, they're going to have something to say nay about? These people are never fully satisfied. Whether you hide or shine, they'll always feel threatened because they don't believe they are enough. So stop paying attention to them. Every time you suppress some part of yourself or allow others to play you small, you are ignoring the owner's manual your Creator gave you. What I know for sure is this: you are built not to shrink down to less, but to blossom into more, to be more splendid, to be more extraordinary, and to use every moment to fill yourself with purpose. Hide or shine, people. Hide or shine. That's what time it is in the world. Hide or shine. I'm going to choose the latter. I can't speak for anybody else. Hide or shine. Let's talk about biggest mistakes. My biggest mistakes in life have all stemmed from giving my power to someone else. Woo, bomb. Believing that the love others had to offer me was more important than the love I had to give to myself. Where is the click track? Where's Prophet Jonathan today? Q's organ. Believing that the love others had to offer me was more important than the love I had to give to myself. Listen, there's too many people operating from that paradigm. Shift. I remember being 29 and in a relationship based on lies and deceit. Down on my knees crying after Mr. Man once again brought me low. I had been waiting for him all evening. He stood me up, arriving hours after our date. And I had dared to ask him why. I remember him standing in the doorway and hurling these words at me. The problem with you, baby doll, is that you think you're special. At which point he turned on his heels and slammed the door in my face. I had grown up watching my cousin Alice be physically abused by her boyfriend, and I had vowed I would never take such treatment. But sitting there on the bathroom floor after he walked out, I saw with great clarity that the only difference between Alice and me was that I had not been hit. Mr. Man was wrong. I did not think I was special. And that was the whole entire problem. Oh, Lord. And that was the problem. Why was I allowing myself to be treated this way? Even with these insights, it took me another year to end the relationship. I kept hoping and praying things would get better, that he would change. He never did. I started praying for the strength to end it. I'd pray and wait to feel better, and wait, and wait, all the while repeating my same old patterns, until one day I got it. While I was waiting on God, God was waiting on me. Oh, Lord. Preach, Oprah. He was waiting on me to make a decision to either pursue the life that was meant for me or to be stifled by the one I was living. I recognize the truth that I am all right, just as I am. I am enough all by myself. That revelation brought its own miracle. Around that time, the call came for me to audition for a talk show in Chicago. If I had stayed entangled in that relationship, my life as I know it would never have happened. Y'all better hear me today. Oh, Lord. What is the truth of your life? It's your duty to know. In order to find out, know that the truth is that which feels right and good and loving. Love does not hurt, contrary to a whole lot of popular belief. Love doesn't hurt. I've learned in the years since I was 29, it feels really good. It's that which allows you to live every day with integrity. Everything you do and say shows the world who you are. So let it be the truth. I'll never forget the moment when I decided to always choose myself. I recall what I was wearing, a blue turtleneck and black slacks, where I was sitting in my boss's office, what the chair looked like and felt like, brown, paisley, too deep and overstuffed. When my boss, the general manager at the Baltimore TV station where I worked, said, "There's no way you can make it in Chicago. You're walking into a landmine and you can't even see it. You are committing career suicide." He used every tactic he could muster to entice me to stay. more money, a company car, a new apartment, and finally, when those things didn't work, he used intimidation. You're going to fail. I didn't know if he was right. I didn't have the confidence to believe I could succeed. But somehow I gathered the nerve to say to him, before standing up and walking out, you're right. I may not make it, and I may be walking into landmines. But if they don't kill me, at least I will keep growing. Oh my. Oh boy, walking away from what does not grow you. In that moment, I chose happiness, the lasting happiness that abides with me every day, because I decided not to be afraid and to move forward. Staying in Baltimore would have been the safe thing to do. But sitting in my boss's office, I knew that if I let him talk me into staying, it would affect the way I felt about myself forever. I would always wonder what could have been. That one choice changed the trajectory of my life. I live in a state of exhilarated contentment, my definition of happiness, fueled by a passion for everything I'm committed to. My work, my colleagues, my home, my gratitude for every breath taken in freedom and peace. And what makes it sweeter is knowing for sure that I was a part of creating this happiness. It was my choice. Ooh, Lord. I like this one. Getting older is the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm going to have to agree with that. Yep. Y'all see, maybe you can't see my little, there they go. See my little grays over there? See my gray? I'm shouting hallelujah for every one of those gray hairs. Because my doctor told my mother, if she does not change her trajectory, she's going to be dead at 16. And I overheard him giving this horrible diagnosis to my mother. If she does not stop what she's doing, which was tearing up my health at the time because I was diabetic, and I was almost getting to the point where I kept falling into near comas. And my doctor told my mother, if she does not stop, if she does not change her behaviors, if she does not get her act together with her health and stop eating all of this candy, and y'all finding her near comatose, if she doesn't stop it, she's going to be dead by 16. I think I was like 13 at the time. But hearing those words was a wake-up call for me. I'm glad I heard them. I'm glad I overheard how serious my diagnosis was, because nobody was really telling me. But I overheard it. And that overhearing it made me actually wake up. So I'm actually very thankful to be as old as I am, because it could have gone a different way. Getting older is the best thing that ever happened to me. I agree, Oprah. I awakened to a morning prayer of thanks posted on my bathroom wall. Whatever age I'm at, I think about all the people who never made it that far. I think about the people who were called before they realized the beauty and majesty of life on earth. I know for sure that every day holds within it the possibility of seeing the world with wonder. Ooh, yeah. Because some people, they wake up and the only possibility in the world they see is worry and not wonder. They don't even bother to look for wonder anymore. They look for worry. They don't even bother to look for the positive. They look for the negative. Yeah. There are entire groups on Facebook where people focus on the negative only. Yeah. She says, the older I get, the less tolerance I have for pettiness and superficial pursuit. There's a wealth that has nothing to do with dollars, that comes from the perspective and wisdom of paying attention to your life. I like to say it this way. If you pay attention to your life will pay attention to you. If you pay attention to your life will pay you some attention. Somebody's going to get that in a moment. It is everything to teach you. And what I know for sure is that the joy of learning well is the greatest reward. Oprah says, my entire life is a miracle. Again, I'm going to have to agree with her. My entire life is a miracle, and so is yours. That I know for sure. No matter how you came to be, whether you were wanted or an accident, as I was labeled for many years, your being here to read these words is awesome. I say this not knowing the details of your life. What I do know is that every person carries their own story of hope and sorrow, victory and loss, redemption, joy, and light. Everyone has had their share of life lessons. How well you learn from them is up to you. When you choose to see the world as a classroom, you understand that all experiences are here to teach you something about yourself. Rather than taking your lessons and projecting them onto other people, learn what your lessons are supposed to teach you about yourself. And that your life's journey is about becoming more of who you really are, your unique self, who God intended for you to be in the earth. Those are my words, not Oprah's. Another miracle we all get to share in the journey. The hardest experiences are often the ones that teach us the most. Whenever trouble comes my way, I try to ask myself, what is this really about and what am I supposed to learn from it? Only when I perceive what the real lesson is, can I make the best decision and grow from that experience. After everything that's happened to me in all my years on this earth, what I'm proud of is that I remain open and evolving. I know that every physical encounter has a metaphysical meaning, and I'm open to seeing it all. I was lucky enough, she writes, to spend some time in Fiji several years ago, and while I was there, I loved watching the waves break gently on the shore. I think of each ripple as each of us in the sea that is life. We believe we're all so different, but we're really not. We cover ourselves up in customs and costumes of aspiration, struggle and victory, sacrifice and loss, and soon forget who we really are. One morning, as I sat watching the waves, I emailed my poet friend, Mark, whose Book of Awakening is a year's worth of daily lessons for living a more intentional life. Mark's email response to me was this: you ask about poetry. You are asking from an island so far away it remains unspoiled. To walk quietly till the miracle in everything speaks is poetry. You want to look for poetry in your soul and in everyday life as you search for stones on the beach. 4,000 miles away as the sun ices the snow, I smile. For in this moment, you are the poem. After years of looking, I can only say that searching for small things worn by the deep is the art of poetry. But listening to what they say is the poem. I never thought of poetry that way before, but sitting on the edge of an island, I could feel what he said was true. For me, poetry is the unexpected utterance of the soul. It is where the soul touches the everyday. It is less about words and more about awakening the sense of aliveness that we carry within us from birth. To walk quietly till the miracle in everything speaks is poetry, whether we write it down or not. I confess I started out wanting to write great poems, only to be worn by life, to wanting to discover the true poems. And now in my second half of life, I feel humbled and excited to want to be the poem. For that for sure is an aspiration worth holding, to not just appreciate the poetry, but to be the poem. Remember the internet rumors that started in the year 2012, about the year 2012? For those of you who are not familiar with those prophecies of global change based partly on the cycles of the Mayan calendar, I remember that because everybody was talking about it. Suffice it to say that some people predicted a collapse of human civilization in 2012, while others foresaw a time of spiritual transformation. Of course, no one can predict the future, but one thing I do know for sure is the power of intention. And my intention is to approach every year as one of great promise. No doomsday for me. I hope to do my part within myself and within the world to bring about a shift that lets us live more authentically, lovingly, intuitively, creatively, and collaboratively. That is my idea of a spiritual revolution, of a spiritual evolution. I chose to see 2012 as the dawning of a new year of alignment, because with alignment comes enlightenment. When you're aligned with your heart's desire, when you're in sync with who you are meant to be and how you're supposed to contribute to the earth, you actually do feel a shift in perception. You start to notice moments of what some people call serendipity, but I like to call marvelisms. Because when I'm doing everything I'm meant to do to keep my mind, my body, and my spirit whole, I constantly marvel at how other experiences began to fall into place. It is as though that beautiful line in the novel The Alchemist comes true. When you want something, all of the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. I'm going to come back to that thought on Sunday. My goal is to stay open to all the universe has to offer every year, every day. Somebody is upset right now because she used the word universe. But on Sunday, we're going to break down that word and we're going to talk about it some more. Oprah writes, one of the things I often ask God, please show me who I really am. That may seem like an odd question, but as I go through life, I never want to lose sight of the truth of my own existence. One of my favorite life quotes comes from a French philosopher, Pierre de Chardin. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. To make that experience as purposeful and poetic as possible is my heart's single greatest desire, for sure. This next vignette that she shares is pretty powerful. It's going to be the last one I read for today. I've always thought of myself as a seeker, and by that I mean my heart is open to seeing in all forms the divine order and perfection with which the universe operates. I am beguiled by the mystery of life. As a matter of fact, on my nightstand I keep a book called In Love with the Mystery. It's full of tranquil photographs and bite-sized reminders of the preciousness of the wondrous journey we're all on. Here is one of my favorite passages. Let the power come. Let ecstasy erupt. Allow your heart to expand and overflow with adoration for this magnificent creation and for the love, wisdom, and power that birthed it all. Rapture is needed now. Rapture, reverence, and grace. I find solace and inspiration in those words. Too often, we block the power that is ever present and available to us because we're so wrapped up in doing that we lose sight of being. I often wonder what Steve Jobs saw when he uttered his last dying words. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Think about it. The man who created all of the Apple products and innovations that people all over the world enjoy was still wowed by what he saw in his dying breath. I wonder if it is the same vision the mother of a 26-year-old cancer patient shared on my show years ago. With his last breath, her son had said, "Oh, Mom, It's so simple. I believe we make our paths far, 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 all of those, my emphasis, more difficult than it needs to be. Our struggle with and resistance to what is entangles us in constant chaos and frustration when it's all so simple. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And remember Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. The energy you create, because yes, you are full of energy, and release into the world will be reciprocated on all levels. Our main job in life is to align with the energy that is the source of all energies, and to keep our frequency tuned to the energy of love. This I know for sure. When that becomes your life's work, the mystery is solved, or at least the mystery no longer mystifies you. It only heightens the rapture, the reverence, and the grace. Are you tuned to the frequency of love? Jesus tells us the same thing. Tune your life to the frequency of love. Try it. Yeah. Rather than getting up and starting your day with all the things you hate, with all the people who get on your nerves, try it. Try it. Try it. All right. We're going to go to our live audience. So if you would, meet me over on Periscope at pscp.tv/Life Nation. I want to thank my Facebook Live viewers for coming on today and spending a little bit of your Friday with me. I will be back probably only on Periscope this weekend, as we'll be doing some missions. And if you want to join me on Periscope this weekend, you can follow me right there at the link, and you'll see what we're doing over the weekend. Take care, and God bless, Facebook Livers. God bless.